Welcome, I'm Anutama. Can a homestead keep animals without exploiting them? Is it necessary to kill or cull unwanted animals? Is it wrong to use animals to provide us with food or to serve us? Now, first a disclaimer. This video is probably going to create a condition called cognitive dissonance. Is when you hold a belief, and if you're presented with information that contradicts that belief, it becomes very uncomfortable. So I'm going to try during this video to refrain from being judgmental or opinionated and just present some facts, and I hope you find it interesting. Some homesteaders routinely harvest animals by killing and processing them, and then either refrain from examining the morality of their actions, or they justify their behavior by citing cultural or religious beliefs. On the opposite end of the spectrum, some people strictly adhere to a plant-based diet and avoid having animals when they choose to live a homestead lifestyle. Probably the majority of people who homestead are somewhere in the middle. They use and occasionally harvest or cull animals, but are troubled by the necessity of committing the violence necessary to produce meat or the callousness necessary to take an animal to market. Before we examine the economics behind the perceived necessity to kill or cull animals, or to avoid having animals entirely, we need to examine some core beliefs that are so conditioned into our consciousness that we are usually unaware that we hold these core beliefs. An example. Here is a $20 bill. Most people would equate a $20 bill with a meal at a decent restaurant, a fair haircut, 2 pairs of good socks, or 4 bales of local grass hay. The belief in the value of the $20 note only exists because the restaurateur, barber, store, and farmer all hold the same belief in the value of the note. However, in reality, the $20 bill is just a piece of paper with some fancy printing on it. If something occurred in our world in which the truck stopped delivering supplies and the internet wasn't available to tell you your bank balance, would the restaurant feed you for that piece of paper? Would the barber cut your hair for it? Would the farmer give you hay? They might for a while based on the power of the belief, but sooner or later the purveyors of real things would demand something that has more value than just a fancy printed piece of paper for their goods. Similarly, we have been conditioned to believe that the way to survive, to be successful, and to be happy is to have access to whatever our heart desires. We believe that the way to do that is to work hard and convert the results of our labors into money, pieces of paper or numbers on a computer screen, which we then use to buy the things we need or desire. In general, homesteaders have figured out that there is something wrong with this picture and are trying to live a more genuine lifestyle. Homesteaders don't usually work a meaningless job. Instead, they tend to produce a good portion of their necessities and often figure out how to turn any abundance into cash, which they then use to buy the things they desire but are unable to produce themselves. As a result of economic pressures, many homesteaders, for instance, will sell the bull calf of their beloved milk cow, even though they know that selling the calf will make the cow very unhappy. To her, it is the very worst thing that could possibly happen in her life. And they know that the calf will likely meet a violent end to a very short life. Yet even the most soft-hearted homesteaders will do such things because they believe it is an economic reality and a necessity. That belief, the economic necessity of selling or killing surplus animals, is as valid as the belief in the value of the $20 bill. Yes, keeping the bull calf means that you need land and hay to feed him. But taking responsibility for a life that you help bring into this world doesn't mean that you will be impoverished. Rather the opposite. The quality of a person's character is far more important than the size of his bank balance. After all, when you leave this worldly body, you don't take your bank balance, but you do take your character. A person who is harsh, merciless, selfish, callous, or cruel could be described as a person with an impoverished character. And a person who is kind, merciful, compassionate, and truthful is a person with a wealthy character. And even materially, if you are eating delicious, nutritious food produced by your labors, have a warm dwelling, and good relationships with those around you, you are prosperous. A lot of homesteaders justify the killing of their animals by noting that the animals had a good life and were dispatched humanely. They note that what they do is much more ethical than how animals are treated in modern industrialized food production. Some homesteaders insist that because God gave man dominion over animals means that people can do whatever they want to the animals. These justifications are similar to the belief that the $20 bill has value. Yes, the bill appears to have value, but only until the fraud is exposed. How many people with such beliefs would be willing to trade places with the animal to be humanely dispatched? Do people really deep down think that God wants unnecessary violence? Or do most people know in their hearts that God is kind and merciful, not just to humans, but to all living beings? There are so many wonderful things to eat that do not require any violence. There are so many problems in the world today, and at the root of every problem is consciousness. Greed, selfishness, fear, anger, harshness, and impersonalism. Rather than trying to fix the external problems, doesn't it make more sense to fix the problems within our own consciousness and behave in a kinder, gentler way, especially to the lives that depend on our compassion and mercy? Thank you for watching. Please comment, and before you unsubscribe, give your cow a big hug.